right, here we go. Overdrive, off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app. Your home smart speaker up on TSN2. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, and there's our good buddy Jonas Siegel of The Athletic. What a beautiful Friday. We got a big game tonight. Jay's back in action. Loving it. How we feeling this afternoon, boys?
Good to see Jonas back, and I thought about a possible segment because Jonas isn't on every day. Maybe 3 or 4 things we've said since his last show that he's hated.
Okay.
I have a few.
You got a few things?
Oh!
I even thought of a name for the segment. Huh? You want
What do you got?
What would
How
that
about-
be? What do you got?
Jonas knows best.
Ooh,
Huh?
all right.
Pretty good?
I like it, Jonas. So you're telling us that you've been watching, and I'm sure you
I
can't
have,
catch every second of every show, but you tune in, and there have been certain things said by either myself, I guess you could throw noodles into the mix, that you took a note of and said, absolutely not accepting that, and the next time I'm on, I will address it, and I will tell one of us why we're idiots and why you're smarter than us. Is that what you're suggesting here, or what?
Exactly. That's exactly it.
Okay, do you want to give us a tease? Do you have anything off the top of your mind?
Well, I figure it mostly should be Leaf stuff.
Okay, sure.
So you say a lot of things that I don't agree with.
Jonas, I mean, I thought this was going to be a bit of kind of a fun type of segment.
Tongue-in-cheek.
I don't know if you really want to
is.
dig deep and be like get personal. To say
I'd
that
never
we
get
say a
personal.
lot of stupid stuff is a bit of a stretch.
I did not say that.
That was not the spirit of the segment I was thinking of. I'm just letting you know.
What
But I'm
was?
sure there's
Wait.
some things. We'll pick away at it later in the hour.
Well, give us a tease here. Give us one thing that you have one thing in particular that really seemed to bother you. What would that be?
I didn't want to make this mean-spirited. It's not mean-spirited.
It's fun.
All right, that's fine.
We're big
One
boys.
thing that bothered you.
So I heard your conversation about the no movement clauses
Mm-hmm.
that have been a bit of a conversation point.
Right.
I just
What
don't,
about that do you think is outrageous?
I just don't think it's as I don't think it should be as cut and dry as, well, they have no movement clauses. I guess that's it. I just think it should be a little bit more, I don't know, uncomfortable. Like, I don't know why it just should be an open, closed conversation. I get that that's the way it feels and it's being portrayed. And it's like, I just don't know why that would be.
I can
doesn't
tell
make
by
total
Hayes'
sense to me.
face that he wants to scratch your eyes out
No,
right now.
listen, I don't recall saying, hey, my hands are up. It's a no movement clause. What are you going to do? I think that was more the impression that the Leafs maybe would give off. Although, to be fair to them, they haven't really addressed that publicly themselves. I guess what you're saying, Jonas, is the idea that the ball is in the court of, let's
Yes.
use Mitch Marner as an example. You're not willing to accept that the ball should be in the court of the Maple Leafs, and they will dictate what they want to do ultimately, and Mitch is just going to have to abide by that.
So
Is that what you're suggesting?
Sort of. Like, I get what they're saying, and I mean, what they're not saying, what I understand from talking to people. I get it. Like, a no movement clause is a no movement clause. They can exercise their authority in the situation, but you can make it a little uncomfortable. You can push it. Like, I just don't, like, one example that kind of doesn't make total sense to me is why you just kind of sit back and wait for a trade to come in and you don't proactively get on this in the sense of, like, you know what, tell us the teams that you're willing to go to, and we'll look at trades and we'll look at rosters and we'll see if there's something that makes sense, and if there is, we'll trade.
Okay. Well,
Like that's just anyway.
I
that's
think
just
that makes
one
a lot of
small
sense.
example.
I got you there. I got you, and I'm looking forward to what's next
This
on
is
the
what
docket
I was
here.
looking for. This is what I was
I
looking
got you
for.
here. Now, what I would say is, in order for that to happen, the Leafs, you can't go in, you can't be half pregnant. Like, if you're going to do that, you're telling Marner, you're not here anymore.
You have nailed it. That is
Yes.
what it feels like. It feels like they are doing this half in, half out, where it's like, well, we're just kind of testing the waters, and it's like,
Right. But that's on the
okay.
Leafs. I don't think that's on the opinion of anybody outside of the building. That's on the Maple Leafs to make that determination.
I
Where-
listened to a segment and I came away with the impression that you were of that belief. And
Oh, that you should explore the whole scene. Okay. Well, I'd like to address that erroneous interpretation.
I did not know that I did not know that Jonas Knows Best was going to dominate the first
I love
hour.
Jonas Knows Best. This is great. This is an amazing segment. I am of the belief that things have to change. I personally would begin that change with Mitch Marner. So that is my personal belief, that is what should happen. I also agree with where I think you're going here. This idea that, well, if you don't get the right deal, you just sign. No.
The extension thing, I was listening to that conversation you had with Dregs, and I was with you guys the whole way. So that was, you knew best in that situation, so I was proud.
Well, thank you, Joe. Thank you for that approval rating. I appreciate that, because I'm with you, though, that I have found that somewhat confusing, this idea that you need to explore what it would look like to get Mitch done. I don't that would suggest that they are completely unaware of any plan that they might have. This is not about Mitch. Again, I can't stress that enough. It's not about Mitch, and it's not about his contract in particular. Mm-hmm. It's the building of a hockey team is the point. And if you conclude, okay, we need way more balance at forward, defense, maybe in net, depending on who they're seeking out, then the idea that you're going to possibly sign Marner to an extension at 11 and a half, 12, or whatever it's going to be, and that's what it's going to be, right? Anyone saying, oh, sign him for $8 million, I think they're all being facetious, but if you're not, newsflash, that's not happening. He's not taking a penny less than what he's making right now. I'd be shocked if that were even a part of the conversation from the Leafs as much as it would be from the Marner camp. But, yeah, I'm with you. It's not like this idea that you need to find out what Mitch would want. You're not – like if you get to that point, then you need to be concluding you want to keep Mitch, right? Then you start the negotiation. The idea of, we're negotiating, we'll see where he's at, and then, maybe not, there could be a deal. I don't think you can play it that way. Like the Leafs need to make their minds up. Are you moving off the core four or not? If you're not, then okay, they're likely to sign him to an extension, and they're going to continue to go down that road.
You can't.
Well, we can say whatever we want, Jonas.
Sure.
It's up to the Maple Leafs to make that determination. I agree with you personally. You and I are on the same page, and it goes on the same page. We're all on the same page. The majority of people are, not everybody. But it's on the Leafs to make the first move and say, sorry, we have to change our team.
Yes,
which
and it's
means we have to move in a different direction.
The season ended
long
6,
overdue.
but no, like I don't mean in just the big picture sense. The season ended like 6 weeks ago. Like as you pointed out at some point, free agency is like in a week.
Yeah.
Don't you kind of need to know what you're doing with your third highest paid player?
And let's be clear here, the Leafs know what they're doing.
Do they?
The Leafs know. Yeah, I believe they. Why? What do you think they've been doing, Jonas?
I don't know.
I think they're vacationing. Greg Berube's got the boys down in the Bahamas.
But that's what I'm kind of confused by. It's like, well, we're gonna kind of wait and see where this goes, and like,
That's the reporting, and I'm not disputing that there's accuracy to a lot of the reporting, but it's also every day there seems to be a new angle, right? In a different update that this could happen, that could happen. Maybe this hasn't happened. Maybe that hasn't happened. The Leafs have a plan by now. Whether or not they can execute it is a completely different story. Well, they better. Right?
But what is the plan? Like, if you're not knowing
they're not
whether
going to announce it though today, John.
That's true.
Like,
but
they're not going to make that announcement today.
But you need to know if you're trading him, don't you?
Right. But you don't have to announce it.
No, but shouldn't
you
you
don't have to announce it on June 21st?
Okay. Shouldn't you have
Jonas, I think his point was you could bring up the idea of trading him, and he could just say, "No, you're not." No, you're not.
He literally can do that, which would be incredibly awkward. And maybe they've done that. Maybe they haven't. Who knows? But what would you expect, Jonas, on June 21st for Brad Treliving and Brendan Shanahan to do? Like, would you expect by now they would have leaked out to the media, we're done and we're moving off this player and it's defined, don't ask us again?
Well,
like, would you
ask you,
like that type of move from them?
No, but
I wouldn't, because they never operate that way.
Well, that's true. But I would think, like, if you're going to, if you guys were running the Leafs, wouldn't you have gone into the offseason exit meetings and said to those guys, we're going to have to explore a change. This has been this many years. You're great players. We have not had any playoff success. We need to know which teams you'll accept a trade to. And those guys could say none. And then you say, okay, well, we're gonna make that known publicly that you would not. You know what I mean? Like, you could just kind of make this a little bit uncomfortable. Like, why does everything?
Sure.
I guess what has kind of been confusing to me is why does everything at this point? Why do you still have to play nice? Like, I don't. With
I hear you
everything
on
that's
that,
happened,
Jonas.
that's what I'm kind of confused by at this point. Like, you guys follow other sports as
Jonas
closely as
knows
I do.
best.
This is not done in
I just-
other sports. Like, this is not normal, I guess.
I just don't think we're at that point yet, though, Jonas. The Cup final's still on. We're not at the draft yet. We're not at July 1st.
We're
I
like
will grant you
a week away.
I'll grant you that if we're July 10th and nothing's happened and they're just they've signed a few guys and they've used up their money, then at that point their actions have probably told you what's going to happen. If they just cruise through the next 2 or 3 weeks and sign a defenseman, pick up a forward, grab Laurent Brossoit or something, you're like, okay, then maybe what they're telling us is they're going to wait for the dust to settle and Marner's going to come back and wink, wink, nudge, nudge, they're going to figure out a way to keep him around long term. That very well could be the case. But on June 21st, I wouldn't expect, anything else from this team in particular. Other teams, it's possible. You guys, I'm sure, have seen quotes from Don Waddell. The guy's been on the job in Columbus for 24 hours. He's like, Elvis Merzlikins is like, no one's taking that contract. We're stuck. That's a quote. He's basically telling the world he'd like to move off a guy, but he can't. And Patrick Laine, he's going to move off him. Like, he's been very open and very public. That's Columbus. That's Don Waddell. That's not how the Maple Leafs operate. It's very frustrating, but they're not entitled to operate any which way to appease the masses on June 21st.
No.
Like, they're just – so I'm not – I guess what I'm saying is I'm not surprised we don't know definitively what they're doing.
But it doesn't
because they
strike me.
never announce anything, and they very rarely let anything leak out.
But does it strike you that they have decided a direction with this whole thing? It doesn't, like, obviously we're just going based on the whispers around, and like you're right, we kind of have heard a little bit from Tree Living at a certain point. But I just, like you mentioned those examples, I just keep thinking back to Tampa after the 22 final, where like exit meetings, like 3 days after the final, Julien Brisebois in his exit meeting with Ryan McDonough says, we're trading you. And it's like, well, he has a no trade clause. Yeah, we're trading you. So give us some teams you will go to. Or like if you don't, like, we'll just put you on waivers, or maybe we'll put you on waivers. That's 3 days after the Cup final where they lose. This is 6 weeks, and it's like, well, maybe we'll do it just strikes me. You're right. We should let it play out, see what happens, and evaluate from there. But just all the rumblings have been pretty confusing to me.
They have been,
That's all they are, though, is rumblings, so we don't really know the true inside information, to be fair.
Fair.
right on both sides, right? What the Leafs want, what Marner may want, where Tavares comes in. Like, Tavares is just pushed aside completely. Like, John is not really being talked about much at all because there seems to be an understanding there, Jonas, where you could make it uncomfortable with him, and I don't think he cares or would budge. Like, it just seems like that's just died off. Like, don't ask John because he's not going
But
anywhere.
he's different, right? Like, you're not getting the same return in a trade for him as
No,
you
of
would
course
be
not.
for
But he's
Marner.
still making $11 million.
Yeah, right,
And
for sure.
you're probably going to get the worst season of the 7-year run here, right? For a team that's knocking on the door where frustration is building, where everyone's starting to get a little bit antsy here, like, you better start winning something. John would probably apply to a guy that could use some change, or the Leafs could utilize his scenario and his contract for change, and it's just not going to happen. So,
Well, and that's another good example. Like, why? Why is that not?
I think, again, because of the way he's wired and the way he operates, he's not going to waive. And you can make it as uncomfortable as you want, but what are you going to do?
Yeah, you're right.
Like, you can take his captaincy away. Okay, you can say what? You're going to play him on the third line. Then it's detrimental to your own team. Like, if he's here and playing for you, you need him to be in good spirits and trying to help you win. It's the same thing with Marner, right? If Marner returns next year, the Leafs have an obligation to put him in a position to succeed to help the team win. He's a Maple Leaf. What are you going to do? And I think what's frustrating is we don't have that answer as to what they really think. And everyone had a different interpretation of the press conferences. Some people came out of it, that's it. They told the world they're changing. Others were like, I didn't hear anything that would suggest they're doing a damn thing.
That's what I heard from that, where it's like you can't keep going forward with that.
Exactly. Yet, again, at this point, we don't have any answers on whether or not that will happen or not. And again, they're talking about it as a team, not like the core four. They didn't specifically say the core four can't continue.
They did not mention those guys at all.
Exactly.
They were asked about them, but they said, we need to look at everything. We will consider everything.
Their answer could be on June 21st while we fired the coach, hired a new coach.
Yeah, I'm prepared
That's
for
change.
that. Yeah.
That constitutes change. Elias Samsonov's not going to return. That's change. It's not the change that many people want, or a lot of these shows, ours included, are focused on, but they may try to spin it like there's change. I don't know. We'll see. Again, to be fair to the Leafs, yes, there's a couple of deals that have happened this week, but it's still, the Cup final's still going on. Like, there's really not much is happening until you get to the draft and then into July 1st.
But you just kind of skipped over a couple of deals.
Yeah.
Like a blockbuster, like
substantial
2 days
deals.
ago.
Yeah. Like the Markstrom deal. That wasn't going to include a guy like Marner, though.
No, but I'm talking about Dubois.
Yeah, Dubois for Kemper is a salary dump for a salary dump. Two players that didn't work. That's not like a massive – and PLD didn't have a no move. It didn't kick in yet, right? That's ruthless. I'll give Rob Blake and company credit. Now, they also look ridiculous that they traded Iafallo and Velarde and Kupari and I think a pick for 1 year of PLD and now Darcy Kemper. Like, that's not really good management out there in LA. Yet I give them credit for realizing we got a mistake on our hands here and we got to get out of it. So, all right. What else are we going to have moving forward here for Jonas Knows
I got
Best?
a couple more things here.
You got a couple
Cross
more.
that one off.
All right. What else could we have here? I'm trying to think. What do you think you have?
I don't know. I know there's something where we just blurted out something. We talk for 3 hours a day. I'll even admit that we've said stupid things for 3 hours a day. We haven't seen this guy in 2 months. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of possible airtime for me or you to say something stupid, man.
Yeah. There's got to be some stupid stuff.
Oh, stupid stuff. Anyway, I didn't mean to get Jonas Knows Best that sidetracked because it's such fantastic fodder. But maybe later on in the show we'll pick up on a few more.
Okay. Well, I've got my 5-pack too, right? For the pressure list, the underpants cam. Yeah, I got that. I'll get to that at around 6 o'clock because I was wondering about what you think the energy of the building's going to be like tonight.
Bonkers, man. Bonkers more than it was the last game.
I agree with you to start, but here's where I would disagree with you. Hayes knows best. That Game 4 was a party and a celebration and a bonus. Like, hey, we're done anyway, but what an awesome night.
No, dude, but you're forgetting O-Dog knows best. This is an opportunity to get really back in the series and have an opportunity to win the Stanley Cup in a few days.
But maybe
that Jonas doesn't know best is the King Daddy Topper of excitement.
I agree,
but I think Hayes,
let me volley it back over.
You're saying that there might be nerves, right?
Nervous energy tonight. Yeah. Yes, I'm speaking as a fan. If I go there Game 4 Saturday night, they blow out the Panthers. I'm having drinks. I'm hugging people. Hey, how's everything going? What a night. Can you believe it? We survived. That's awesome, man. They'll probably get pumped in Game 5. Then they win Game 5, and you got to go back into the building Game 6. And now you've spent the last 48 hours or more than that convincing yourself the Oilers can do it. Like Game 4, there was nobody on earth that thought the Oilers could do it, myself included. Maybe you did, Jonas, because you know best. Maybe you thought they could win Game 4 or Game 5. It's possible, but I didn't see it coming. And now here we are walking into a game tonight where if I'm a fan walking in there, I'm so excited. Obviously, I feel like I've kind of won a free game here because I have the opportunity to go see my favorite team, Game 6, Cup Final, and now there's something really on the line as opposed to maybe where you were a week ago when you walked in that building. But there's also more to lose. You know, they got swept in 4. You're like, well, I knew they were going to lose anyway. Now you got something to lose. Like if it's a tight game in a third period tonight, that is 20,000 strong underpant cam where everyone's buzzing and everyone's like, man, if they get the next goal, we're going back to Florida for 7. And if you go back down there, like you talk about pendulum swinging, And you talk about the Florida Panthers absolutely panicking to an extent that maybe we've never seen before in like a final of a Cup final, NBA Finals, World Series. I can't even imagine we could be in a position like that by midnight tonight, but we could. And
if they cough it
I
up,
can't
Hayes,
wait.
is it the worst choke job of all time?
It has to be.
It's
in
happened
the
once
history
before,
of sports.
right?
I think it passes 28-3. Like I think 28-3 in the moment was bad, but that's a neutral site. That's Brady. That's
a half.
and it's one game where things start breaking. You miss a catch, and then all of a sudden they get hot. The refs get involved. This will be a 2-week puking that will be studied by universities around the world for the rest of time.
Come on.
Dude, 3-0.
Studied by universities?
Yes. The Florida Panthers, they will be studied if you throw this away. And that's going to be interesting to see how they play tonight.
There's no doubt about it. If the Edmonton Oilers come back and pull this thing off, it's got to be the greatest choke job of all time. I totally agree. It would smash the 28-3 off the curb. It would just be like, move over 28-3, watch this, because in the finals, up 3 Cobb, and you don't get it done, dude.
Right. I think it surpasses Red Sox coming back in the Yankees in 2004, because that was in the CS. That was in the championship series. Right now, that's
insanity,
like,
too.
Those two, their history, the Red Sox hadn't won in 86 years or whatever. You know, I'm sure in Boston they'd say,
of course they would
maybe
pass that, because this is the finals.
Exactly. Like, this is the Cup final. That was the championship series.
So,
like, Cup final, you're up 3-0 and rolling. If you find a way to throw that away, I don't know, man. I don't know how. That's the kind of thing that can spiral an organization out of control, like into a completely different universe. Like, how do you respond to that? How do you get up
crawl
off the
back
mat?
from that and say, "Oh, we were so close, guys. We just have to run it back."
We'll learn from that, choking a 3-0 series away.
That would
learning.
I would almost rather have a San Jose season than lose like that.
Isn't that a statement? You'd rather be the San Jose Sharks.
Well, what would you rather have? Would you rather
that was
have
the first
San Jose?
round, right?
Well, we're saying San
No,
Jose
I'm talking
in general.
San
That'd be
Jose,
important.
just San Jose.
This
I'm just
year.
talking. If you were a GM,
No,
what
get
would
out
you?
of here.
Oh, I
Listen,
would.
This
O-Dog
is the
knows
final.
best.
Give me my
O-Dog
career.
knows best here, Jonas. What would you rather have? The tank job all season long, knowing you're going to be terrible in San Jose, or puking away the Cup final?
The final.
I wouldn't.
That's guys. This.
I wouldn't, dude. I would rather.
You would rather be
career,
the worst team like ever
because
and lose
no
in the
one's
Because you
gonna
can
remember.
always say we're building for the future. It's all
Right.
good. How could you possibly explain choking away a 3-game lead in the
Well, I mean,
finals?
I could. You know how I could explain it? They have the best player in the world.
Yeah,
and he went
that,
like
that's
ham.
still
Doesn't
that's
matter.
erroneous.
That's where you
Erroneous.
don't know best, and it's insane that you're on this show to
He
say
was the
that.
best player in the world when they were up 3-0.
Yeah.
And it meant nothing.
That's true.
This will be a team of Bill Buckners walking around the sports world. That's what it will be.
That wasn't the world. That was the World Series, wasn't it?
Exactly. That was Game 6.
Against the Mets.
Pass the bag. Like, this will be it's no longer Matthew Tkachuk. It's, hey, Bill Buckner, how are you? Hey, Sasha, good to see you, Bill Buckner. Like, it would be a team full of Bill Buckners.
So who do you
And-
think the most nervous person in the building will be tonight?
Bobrovsky. Pierre
Yeah.
LeBrun said it best because I asked him yesterday, whose eyes do you want to put on? Like, who do you want to put your eyes on in the morning walking in to see where their mojo's at? And he said, Bobrovsky, it's not even a question.
Yeah.
I want to see what he's got tonight because if there's another little 5-hole blunder or he looks shaky, there's serious, like Franklin Rubenstein to Chris Edwards, fire up the underpants cam in the building.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's like Stollart's. Is he stretching tonight thinking there's a chance I'm going in?
No, dude.
He's not going in.
You're not thinking
Gives
about
up 3 on 9.
Stolarz.
You're not pulling Bob. Bob got pulled the last time he was in that building. I don't know, man.
That would be a dangerous game, yanking Bob. I mean, there would
Because
have
then
to
you
be
have
some.
Game 7.
Well, exactly. But
Can't pull him.
if Bob's a mess for the third game in a row, kind of the fourth, because even Game 3 in the third period, it got a little shaky there. I don't know, man. Bob Buckner, I'd be concerned. All right, Carter Hutton
Wait,
coming
didn't
up.
you say like he was your back? That's a, I should save this for Jonas Knows Best.
What did
Yeah.
I say? He was
Hang
great
on,
through
we're
the
saving
Save
it for
it.
Jonas Knows Best.
Saving it.
Listen,
Got it,
we're
wrote it
speaking
down.
hypothetically as if they do throw this away. It obviously could go the other way, and we discussed this a bit yesterday, that like the Panthers could win 5-1 tonight and steamroll the Oilers and just be laughing in the third period. Like that is definitely a possibility. They're a great team. It's gotten away from them here for a couple of games. I don't think this is a blowout one way or the other personally tonight, but I'm having a tough time making a pick on who I think is going to win, which is a testament to the Oilers for them battling back. It really
Who's
is a testament.
favorite?
Hang on a sec. I have to read something. Someone came off the top turnbuckle with the Ultimate Warrior gear on and the face paint, and the man's name's Gino Reda.
Okay.
And Gino Reda says, Reda knows best. This is not a choke job. This is merely the Oilers, the better team, finally playing up to what they're capable of. That's the real story here. Hashtag you're welcome.
I think Gino knows exactly how he's going to handle this story if that ends up transpiring.
I don't know where Gino's coming from with that comment.
Well, Gino liked the Oilers coming in. And listen, it was a coin flip of a series. I was on Florida, and I still think Florida's going to win, but I understand why people were picking Edmonton, and Gino was adamant about that. And yes, Edmonton has been very good, at times during the series. They weren't that good in Game 2, not great in Game 3, great in Game 4, good in Game 5, really good in Game 1. They got robbed by Bob. It's a series now. This could break either way. But Gino's been around the game long enough. I don't believe you and I would be sitting there with Gino live on SportsCenter or doing a That's Hockey hit, and it wouldn't be about Florida melting. I mean, that's just, you can't run away from that. Like, if you're up 3-0 and you choke that away, it's just like McElroy and DeChambeau. We just talked about it all week. Bryson's going to get his flowers. The Oilers would get their flowers, but I'm sorry, talking about Rory missing a 3-foot putt, that's pretty difficult to run away from. Pretty difficult.
Maybe Gino just wanted some airtime. I'm not sure.
It's possible. We'll see. Maybe this all plays out, and we'll hold Gino to that. We will hold Gino to that. If Edmonton comes back and wins, it's all
he better
about
watch
Edmonton.
himself. He better watch himself.
We'll be tracking.
Yeah,
we'll be tracking
him.
All right, Mike Johnson coming up. Noodles coming up. Also, Canada, they were in it in the first half, right? That felt monumental. It was 0-0 at the half.
I'm not doing that talk anymore. They played great, but they haven't scored a goal with the new coach.
And they lost.
Are we going to continue to say, the awesome stuff? It was pretty entertaining for kind of, if you compare the pace of the sports, like soccer develops, that seemed like it was wicked fast, and there was a lot of stuff going on. It was
a really fun match last night.
It was highly entertaining.
Yep,
but at the end of the day, you lost, man.
Yeah, you lost, and you were supposed to
haven't scored
lose,
with the new coach.
Yeah, Marsh might want to figure that one out. Might need some X's and O's to try to generate some offense here. So Matthew Shinetti coming up from Atlanta later this afternoon as well. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. Drive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Could be a very triumphant 24, 48 hours for the city of Edmonton if the Oilers win tonight and the Elks get a win tomorrow. But if the Oilers lose tonight and the Argos lay a beating on the Elks tomorrow, we got to get Struddy on Monday. He will be absolutely out of sorts. But we'll see how that plays out. Jay's in Cleveland, and look at this. Elvis Martinez hitting 8 tonight playing second base.
What a great idea.
There you go. Get the kid in there. Get the kid in there. I like that plan. I like that idea. So Martinez hitting 8 tonight playing second base. We'll get to that a little bit later this afternoon. Game 6 of the Cup final tonight. Both goaltenders, they're going to be fighting it. They better bring their A game tonight. And to chat about it, we're joined now by a guy who played in the league for a long time, knows the position well. He's back on Overdrive. Here's our main man, Carter Hutton. How you doing, Carter?
Hazy, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me back on. Obviously, I thought we'd be done by now. I think last time we were on, we didn't know it'd go this distance here. It's nice to have the Oilers back in the mix here, and Skinner playing well here.
Yeah, no kidding, man. We've been talking about those splits, like Skinner games 1 through 3, I think it is, in the series where the statistics are bloated. It's kind of a mess, quite frankly. And then games 4 through 7, that guy's a rock star. What is your read on that? Like, how do you explain the kind of Jekyll and Hyde type of approach of Skinner early in a series compared to later in a series?
You know, I got to just account for lack of experience. You know, I think maybe going into this, the pressure getting to him a little bit, even the Vancouver series, the Dallas series, just trying to find his game too. And for a guy like Bobrovsky, it's gone a little bit the other way. I think the pressure of trying to close out the series has got to him a bit, especially after last year's woes. But for Skinner, you know, obviously his numbers, games through 4 through 7 are insane. And I think the last 2 games, for me, it's like his start, getting early shots, some early action. A key one for me, obviously the Ekblad save last game, backdoor pass, huge save. But the shot by Reinhart to start the game, he had to look right in the slot. Reinhart puts it right in his chest. But those are ones, tell you as a goalie, like you get that first save. I know if you ask Reinhart, he'd be pissed that he didn't put it top shelf or pick a corner. But that's one, get out of the way, especially, you know, in a few of these games, he's given up that early goal. So I think he found himself there, and he's been rock solid here. And obviously, McDavid, what else is there to be said about him?
Right.
What's your projection for Bob tonight? Because it could get greasy. We talked about him. Like, what's his mindset? This guy was so dialed in, and now there's been some leaky goals, and he looked unstoppable. Like, what do you think he does tonight? What do you like? What's your projection for his play tonight?
So my play, like, I think he'll be better tonight. I think the Panthers will be better overall too. But for me, it's the lack of, you know, like you look at McDavid's goal on the ice, right? And everyone talks about the RVH. You know, Lundqvist came out on TNT and ripped, you know, who was it? The big Zadorov scored a few goals from that bad angle, right? Goalie's going down and you can't RVH, blah, blah, blah. And there's a perfect example of you can't stand up, right? So for me, I think for Bob, he needs to just get back to being an athlete. Like, here's the goal here. You can see him just, like, that's a horrible goal. It can't go in, let alone in game in the Stanley Cup final. It can't go in anytime in the regular season. So I think for Bob, he's got to find his, like, game again in the sense of finding the flow where you look at Stuart Skinner obviously we're watching on TV. I'm not be able to go to the games, but you can see him like feeling it to the music, right? And just having fun and getting to that level of confidence. And something I struggled with too, like early in my career where I'd play in a big game and I'd want to play well, and it had like the opposite effect because I was trying too hard. So I think he's settling into the series where now for Bob, this is like the ultimate hurdle for him to get over, is find a way to get his game, to get that cup, to pretty much solidify himself as, you know, one of the better goalies to ever play in the league.
With Carter Hutton, yeah. I mean, the way he played the last couple of games, it would be nerve-wracking. Yet everything leading up to that, Carter, as you know, has been like spectacular. And the nerves of a goalie, you know, it's going to permeate the whole group. Yet as a goaltender, like, what are you expecting out of your teammates? What would you be expecting if, like, you guys are freaks? Like, a lot of times you stick to yourselves, you do your own thing, you have your routines, you don't want people to bother you. Like, if you have a game day routine where no one talks to you, would you freak out if someone tried to talk to you on a game day like a
Hazy,
night like
do you
tonight?
mean like you in real life?
Yeah, basically. In other words, like me and the way that I operate prior to this show. I mean, how would you handle it where you know the guys are looking at you being like, we need you tonight, man, and I need that mojo moving in the right direction here?
You know, I'm sure, O-Dog, you could touch on this too. Have you been around enough goalies? But for me personally, I was always a sociable guy. I think people would always tell me I wasn't a weird goalie, so I don't know if that was a good or a bad thing. But the more I could just be myself and just play my game like it was a regular season game versus playoffs versus whatever situation it was. But when I was younger, same deal. I would want a game. I always joke around about the Tommy Boy where he's trying to sell brake pads, right? And he's
Yes.
get the waitress to turn on the chicken fryer to put the wings in for him. And he says he wants a sale so bad, he tries so hard to get it and he rips its head off. That's how I felt when I was in a big game, right? I would play a big game and I wanted to play so well. There was so much pressure. And then all of a sudden, as I matured, I learned that had a negative effect on me. Like, I can't be wound that tight trying to play a game, worrying about what's going on at my pregame meal and I'm playing at 7 o'clock at night. So when I learned to just be myself and relax and go in and out of focus, and that's something I actually worked with a sports psychologist with, being able to go in and out of focus throughout a game. And I'd go to the bench for a water break. I'd joke around with the boys, have fun. And then I go back to a face-off. I had a few key things I would run through my head to dial myself back in. So that's where I see Stuart Skinner when he's having fun and he's loose out there. I think that makes him, you know, instead of being it's hard to play the game. You guys know how it is, like, especially O-Dog, you played, like, when you're tight, you can't play. It's the same, you play golf, you do anything. If you're thinking too much, you're not getting it done.
We're chatting
Thinking
with,
back on it, Carter, there's not a whole lot of like for the game, there's not a lot of player interactions. Like, I like to keep to myself. There wasn't like, hey, how's it going at home? Or, hey, I never really talked to anybody. You go and you do your sticks, you get your things ready, you do your pregame routine, you warm up. Now that I think about it, I barely talk to anybody leading up to the game. There's just not a lot of talk. If somebody wanted to come by and say, hey, these guys are really aggressive on the penalty kill, we got to zip it around pretty quick, I'd be like, I'm into that. I can buy that. But anything else, I don't remember talking hardly to anybody before a game.
Yeah,
Especially the
music's
goalies.
I think the music's a good divide in the room. Like, honestly, for me, like if there was no tunes in the room, I think that would break it up, right? You know, music's going. And then once the music stops, like most teams I played on, we had music the whole time. Or after warm-ups, everybody's kind of in their game day routine now. Now you're just talking about the game, talking about what we're going to do and trying to keep it light. And then guys, you guys see it, guys going out for the tunnel, they have their routine, they run through their handshakes and all the stuff that goes with it. And as a goalie, most guys like tend to just kind of stay away from them. Just like, you know, Doug said, you're not really talking to guys. But for me, the biggest thing was not changing my routine just because the game was bigger. I think it had an opposite effect on me.
With Carter Hutton. So once we get through either tonight or Monday and the cup is handed out, you know, there's going to be action throughout the league. We've already seen it this week with Markstrom being traded from Calgary to Jersey. And when the dust settles here in Toronto, I think people are going to realize, you know, there's Joseph Woll and basically no one else at this point. And Woll's a young goalie, good goalie, but injury prone, doesn't have a ton of NHL experience. How would you suggest the Maple Leafs handle that position over the next 2 or 3 weeks, or even 2 or 3 months leading up to next season?
You know, we chatted about this last time, and I still think it's a position where I think Joseph Woll has a high ceiling, but, you know, with his injury risk, you know, you need someone that can push some minutes and also push him, I think, in the same sense, right? So I don't know who is the guy. We had an opportunity today. I chatted with Linus Allmark on another show I do, Leafs Morning Take, and he was pretty candid about his situation moving on, and I don't know if he is a guy that can fit there. I'm not sure where his no movement clause is, but I also think there's a lot of guys there that add value. If you make a trade, there's teams, I think more than ever this free agency, there's going to be goalies that are on the move. And for the Leafs, they need to do something now because they are built to win. They have a good team. But I also think that without a goalie that can stay healthy come playoff time and a star goalie and someone on the back end, I just don't really see how this team built, no matter who's in net, how they're going to get over the hump.
So I'm glad Joe from the Bridge just reminded me, because you were like a transactional Leaf at one point, right? Like we mentioned that after we let you go last time. We're like, why didn't we get into that conversation with Carter? Because you were in the league for a long time, but you kind of, how would you describe your relationship with the Leafs in terms of when you were here, yet you didn't end up playing? What was the story there?
It was a drive-by.
So
a little drive-by, okay.
So I ended up, so my last year in Buffalo, I hurt my ankle. I ended up getting ankle surgery that summer. I was out all year, and my agent, I don't know how my agent got, I love him because he got me a deal in Arizona. Minimum, they took me on. I dealt with Armstrong when I was in St. Louis, and then I got hurt again. My ankle was toast. I wasn't ready. The writing was on the wall. I was done. So he traded me to the Leafs, a transactional deal, and said I could stay in Arizona. I didn't have to go. I just had to go to the minors. And I didn't go anywhere. I stayed in my house in Scottsdale. I golfed every day. It was unbelievable. And then a few guys got hurt on the Leafs. And that was the year with Mrazek and Jack Campbell. And then Dubas had called and told my agent, like, hey, you have to come now. So then I ended up going to the Leafs. I hadn't been on the rink in, I bet it must have been 2 months. My golf game was tight. And then I started rehab and trying to get back with the Leafs. So I got to have a cup of coffee there, hang out with the boys for a little bit. And I was there during that playoff run. So technically, I guess I retired a Toronto Maple Leaf. So my father-in-law loves me a lot more now.
That's great. Get that alumni jacket. UNO
Gotta
should be
do
down
it.
in the alumni box.
You got to get an alumni jacket.
Free tickets, right? Free tickets, I heard now for life.
Absolutely.
That's right.
They treat the alumni well. They really, really do. Great catching up with you, Carter. Appreciate you doing this, man. We'll do it again soon.
Hey, thanks for having me on, as always.
You got it. There's Carter Hutton, former Leaf. All right.
I got to be honest, Jeff, I'm shocked that you're quiet. You were quiet before games, because from what I've learned, you'll just go up to anybody in public and just start a conversation.
That is true.
Jonas, I know that. But when you got stress on the line, and it's like, as much as it is a team sport, like you got to, it's just
you
like,
gotta have your stuff together.
Yeah, I was listening to Chambly on the Golf Channel today, and he's like, when you're a professional golfer, there's just a lot of alone time. You're in your own thoughts. And it's, although hockey is a team sport, you go back and you lie in your room, you're by yourself, you're thinking about how you played. There's a lot of mental stuff going on, because it's all about, as soon as the game ends, I don't know how different everyone is different who played the game in the NHL, but like you're happy for 10 minutes and then you're like, the next game, this show is kind of similar. You wake up, you're like, there's a show at 4:00 that I have to do, and I have to get my thoughts going to that. But playing, you're just like, you're happy in the NHL for 10 minutes, and then you're like, I got another game in 2 days, and that just occupies your brain. because it just never goes away. It's a lot of stress, a lot of pressure. And it's one of the biggest things about playing in the league is how you can deal with that. Like, everybody's talented that gets drafted. There's a bunch of guys, you watch them in practice, you're like, how the hell does that guy not play and be a 30-goal scorer? They just can't hack it. They can't hack it, man. It's the biggest thing about playing in the league. You got to be able to handle all that stuff.
Yeah, there's no question about that. And, you can speak to it. Locker room, dressing room dynamics. Usually it's just the guy beside you in the stall anyway. You're not having chats with people halfway across the room.
Like I said, you like before the game, you go around, hey, be ready, let's go, finish your hits, do your thing, be a jerk out there, cause problems, and that's it.
Yeah.
Then you go play. Like the conversation stuff happens in the morning where guys are loose, they're having a coffee, they're in the lounge room watching sports or whatever. But come game time, it's like there's like a nervous energy all around where it's like you're going out there. It's a violent sport. Anything can happen as soon as you step on the ice. And it's just it's not a nervous time, but it's just guys are focused and they got to play well and they got to do it night after night.
Well, so what would you guys say if you were Paul Maurice in your pregame? What would you say? Because now it's starting to get a little tight.
I can remember Donnie Hay in the World Juniors. He did something smart because it was getting tense and it was coming down. And he came in and kept it light. But after he kept it light, he got serious after. And he made it known, like, it's okay, guys. This is just a game. He cracked a joke. And then he got serious. So there's got to be some way to find a balance of, like, we're not doctors here solving world problems. We're playing a game, but let's get it done tonight. There's got to be some kind of way to mix everything and pass that message along. I'm a big believer in some kind of like pump up video, man. You just throw a tape in, or not a tape now. Throw something in where it's like the best pump up song you've ever seen. Everything that everybody's done positive. Great saves by Bobrovsky. Great hits by other guys. Goals by Barkov. Matthew Tkachuk. Just something where it's just like the Rocky pump up where it's like before you hit the ice, you watch that and you just go right out there and start kicking some ass. I'm a big believer in that.
Yeah, I think that would go a long way. The question is, did he play that for Game 4 and then play it for Game 5?
Hazy knows best. Hazy knows best.
I mean, I'm with you. I think it would be interesting to hear, what did he say for 4? Hey, we got a cup. Let's go win it tonight. Okay, let's go win it tonight. Let's go win it tonight.
Because you're right. Like, whatever he said for 4, you ain't saying for 5, and you definitely ain't 6.
Yeah, you better come up with some new material, man. All right, Mike Johnson still to come. Noodles will join us. We'll get into the Canada-Argentina match last night later this afternoon. Elvis Martinez in the lineup playing second base, hitting 8 tonight down in Cleveland as well. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, Mike Johnson coming up. There was the championship parade down in Boston, and you've won so many when no one even cares or pays attention to it. Like usually when there's parades, like if there's one in Edmonton, if there's one in Florida, it'll be massive, right? Those teams haven't won a cup. Florida's never won one. Edmonton hasn't won one in 34 years. Canadian City, streets will be packed. And there were a lot of people that showed up for the Celtics, but I think it's the national media is like, we're just not interested in seeing what people in Boston have to do or are thinking about another victory because they've been so spoiled. And credit to the Celtics.
You're saying the national media didn't show up in full attendance for that parade?
I haven't personally seen. I guess I'm saying anecdotally myself. You know how whenever there's a parade, there's always stuff trending. There's always stuff going on.
Yeah. The kind of the idea with them is, oh my God, another one.
Yeah, exactly. And that's my point. It's like no one's looking. Oh, there's a crazy wild guy down there. They're like, we've seen it. We saw it when you won 10 years ago.
Yeah, throw beers to the fans. Fan throws you a beer. Right. You crush it. It's like cool.
Yeah. Like, because I appreciate a championship parade in a city that really embraces it. Like when the Blues won, when the Capitals won.
What about here? Remember with Marcus
exactly.
How good that was?
Absolutely. Toronto's a great example. And now we're in here. It's our city, so obviously we experienced it differently. But yes, there's a perfect example. There was no championship parades here forever to that magnitude, and it was incredible. So Boston, they just keep plugging along. Anyway, you see the Science Center is officially closed, and I read that today, and I'm lucky. I got my kids there like 2 weeks ago. And it turns out, I don't know if we were in danger or not, because the
The roof?
The roof is caving in. Yeah, so they've just shut the thing down completely, and that's it. RIP Science Center until they build it again downtown, which I think they're
Where
still
are all
planning
those
on
cool
doing.
displays going to go? Be a shame if they just get thrown out.
I was thinking that myself. Like, I wonder if we can get our hands on a cool display. That would go over well here, I think. But, yeah, everything in the city, man. The TTC, the CEO, he's shut her down. It's a mess. The Gardner's a mess. The Science Center's caving in. We're really moving in a good direction here.
Oh, yeah.
World Cup's coming in 2 years. Not even.
Insane.
Maybe we want to figure this out. Anyway, hour 2 coming up. Mike Johnson will join us. Noodles coming up. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.